I think the kids call it info dumping.
Info dumping? Bro, we can't have like a whole episode with one story. We're not a true crime podcast, all right?
Okay, but it's a pretty interesting story, and honestly, I think it would make a great TV show.
A TV? Where did you hear about this?
So I was on TikTok, and this like news TikTok came up, and they were talking about how Kamala Harris is one of like 24 women who have run for president in America's history.
Okay.
And so I was like, who is the first person or first woman? So I looked it up, and I was just at first reading the Wikipedia, like, okay, you know, that's so cool. Like, she's a free rights activist and all that sort of stuff. And then I decided to like click through her life more, and it just got wilder and wilder. And I was like, this is crazy.
Which president does she run against? You didn't get to that part of who she lost to, right? You're like, man, her life is amazing until the end when she lost to so-and-so. But we don't know who that is. Well, while you're looking that up, welcome to Mindless Prattle. This is episode 92. Ripley said she's going to be going off for a while about women in politics, so we got to shoehorn this in right at the beginning. Otherwise, we'll never get around to it. It's not just about like that.
It's like about how cool their life is and like how it reads like a movie.
What did I say?
You make it sound like I'm just going to go on about politics.
No.
And I'm not.
You brought it up as the first woman to run for president.
Yeah, that's
therefore
true.
Setting the tone as a political story.
Oh, but like the reason I didn't know who she ran or who she lost to was because she didn't lose at all. So,
let's back up. Did we have a secret female president?
No.
Well, then she lost to someone.
Well, so she didn't.
Did she run?
Technically, I don't know who she ran against because
you're killing me right now, Smalls.
It was the 1870s.
You can't start out by saying that she ran for president but didn't lose, but also didn't win, and we don't know who she ran against. Is she a ghost? Does this person exist? Are you too high to know what's going on?
No. It just wasn't the important part of the story.
Well, I would like to know eventually, but go on with your story for now. Or we'll sit in silence.
No, because it just, all of the...
Start with your story, ma'am. What you got today?
Okay.
There you go. All right.
So she lost to Ulysses S. Grant.
Oh my gosh. Why did you, that took so long to find? Okay.
So basically, the first woman nominated to run for president who ran against President Grant.
A person with a dick, yeah.
I forgot he existed, frankly. Sorry.
I don't appreciate you calling me Frank all the time. All right. Just going to throw that out there. Second of all, most people forget most presidents.
But she ran for president in 1872. And I was, like I said, I was just kind of like casually going through the Wikipedia. And, you know, you can click on different sections and like learn about her.
As Wikipedia does.
So not only was she the first woman to run for president, she was also the first female stockbroker on Wall Street, which that... Ooh!
Wow.
Sorry for bopping you, audience.
That'll be fun.
But yeah, she earned like millions of dollars. She was called the Queens of... Like she was in a newspaper that called her and an associate the Queens of Finance.
You're going to hit that microphone again. You swinging wildly today.
The Queens of Finance. Mm-hmm. So I thought that was pretty cool, like Wolf of Wall Street, but 1870s female edition. Like, and so, you know, I'm like I said, I'm just going along, randomly reading sections. And I was like, oh, cool. Like she advocated for women's rights. Sounds great, right? And then you learn.
Sure.
She advocated for eugenics.
Okay.
And she thought that like problems with pregnancies were because the women like didn't deserve it, or like it was due to like being impure and stuff like that. And just like this really weird idea set that sounds, it's very like anti-feminist, you know? Karl Marx actually said he did not like her. So, and I feel like Karl Marx like was like a big deal back then.
What measure is Karl Marx not liking someone?
I just, it's like
Marx didn't like her, so therefore, what? I'll wait. It's okay.
it doesn't matter, I guess.
Okay. So you want them to remake Wolf of Wall Street in the 1800s with this woman?
But not exactly. So, she advocated for women's suffrage, but like I said, she was kind of a racist eugenics thing.
Huh? Okay.
So then I was like, okay, why does she have these beliefs? Like, I don't want to get into them too much because a lot of them are very political, and I don't want to comment on it. It's beyond my understanding, especially because it's like, for the time, what she was talking about is still very relevant, and I just don't want to touch on it.
Okay.
But it says prostitution rumors and stance. Okay.
Mm-hmm.
He said a personal account from one of her friends suggests that.
Who's he? Who's reading this?
A personal account from one of Colonel Blood's friends.
Colonel Blood's friends. Mm-hmm. Boy, this just sounds, like a reputable source.
It's Wikipedia. I also have her biography from.
What was her name again? We've gotten so far from the name.
Victoria Woodhull.
Victoria what?
Woodhull.
Woodhull?
Woodhull. Hull.
Woodhull. Why are you saying it?
What?
Why are you saying it like that? Hull. Like you.
Woodhull.
Hull?
Hull.
Woodhull?
Woodhull.
No, you're saying huh, like you put an O in there.
It's not a hole, it's hull.
Yeah, hull.
No, not
H-U-L, not whole, hull.
Hull.
H-U-L-L. It's
hull.
All right.
I feel like we're saying the same thing.
We're not. You're saying hull, like there's an extra U or an extra O in there. What do you call like the outside of a ship?
A hull.
Where you...
Which is like her name, right? A ship's hull. Why are you
You're saying it just
me?
like one little like vowel away from whole instead of hull.
Hull.
There, you're getting there. That was much closer that time.
But I was like, you know what? She has some pretty strong beliefs, especially for the time. So I went way back, and it said that when she was 15, she married a 28-year-old doctor and then had 2 children with him.
Okay.
And I was like, damn, that sounds awful.
Yeah, children are the worst.
Well, no, just being 15 and you're married to a 28-year-old and then you have 2 children and like, that sounds awful. Like, I understand like what she does next. So her husband ended up being like an alcoholic who did not take care of his family. So she worked multiple jobs to support them, like #working queen. And then her younger sister ended up becoming a fortune teller and healer. And then she divorced her husband and ended up she became an advocate of the free love movement, which right. I didn't know exactly what that meant. Apparently, she thinks that people can remain with romantic partners for as long as they choose and then move on rather than marry for life, which this is the 1800s. That's a pretty radical belief for the time.
Like, we were in love and we still are, but bye.
Yeah, like, I'm done with this now. Let's not combine our finances. She also sought to destigmatize divorce and then married an Army veteran.
Which portion of her life do you want this documentary, this movie to be about? Because right now you're going from like, I'm getting a very non-sequential timeline of her life. Was she on Wall Street while she was married, before she had kids? Was she 12 on Wall Street? I don't know. We mentioned Wall Street first, like it was like the first thing she did, and then you went back to her getting married at 15. I'm looking for like chronological what happened.
This is like the order of events that like led me there. Like this is the order I read it in and why I got interested.
You're so lucky that Mindless is in that title of this podcast.
Yeah, that's the whole point.
I and everyone else are lost at what your point is. There's a woman. She existed. She did things.
She's just really cool. Okay, like
Yep,
despite
cool
having
woman.
some shitty beliefs,
She's a cool woman.
she and
did
her
stuff.
sister like become successful as mediums and fortune tellers, and this introduces them to Cornelius Vanderbilt, who creates the company Vanderbilt, like the financial company. They make a bunch of money, which they use to fund a brokerage, and then they become the first women to operate a financial firm on Wall Street, which is where they ended up becoming the very successful queens of finance, basically. So what I said in the beginning.
So the queens of finance, her and her sister.
Yes.
You said that like you didn't know, even though this has been your entire project.
The way they label it is they say Wall Street, they say Woodhull, Claflin and Company.
Okay.
I'm pretty sure Claflin is her sister. Her sister's first name was Tennessee Claflin. Yeah.
Was Woodhull her original last name, or was that the marriage last name?
Yeah, that's her original last name. She just
so she has a sister with a different last name. Did the sister marry into another last name?
It doesn't talk about that.
No,
it's just focused on her and like what her life was like.
All right.
And but she does a lot of stuff with her sister. Like every other sentence is like she and her sister, like they created a newspaper. She spoke about women's suffrage. But like I said, the whole point that I was thinking of was that she made history by becoming the first woman to run for president as a part of the Equal Rights Party.
You are terrible at reading. The first sentence on Wikipedia is Victoria Woodhull, born Victoria Claflin.
Oh. Well, I was wrong.
I noticed.
Listen.
This is the very first 6 words on this Wikipedia page.
Well, I'm on the women's history page right now.
Awesome.
So.
I'm glad that you didn't read her Wikipedia page. She was born 7th of 10 children. That sounds like the 1800s.
Yeah, well, you gotta have a bunch in case one of them dies.
It's not in case. It's so that when one dies, you.
Yeah. What was the mortality, child mortality rate then?
In 1830? I don't know.
I gotta look it up.
Right in 1830. Let's see. It was 448 deaths per 1,000 births. So you had a 55% chance of living.
And then the child mortality rate in the United States for children under the age of 5 was 462.9 deaths per 1,000 births in 1800.
Yeah.
Over 46% of children born in 1800 did not make it to their 5th birthday.
Yeah, good old days.
Yeah.
We got so many people.
It says especially this group, especially their children were really unlucky because they were generally the child mortality rate has decreased during this 200-something year period, but the 4th cholera outbreak, smallpox outbreaks, yellow fever, and then the Spanish flu pandemic caused this to increase drastically.
By some accounts, she was abducted into her first marriage.
Yeah, she was definitely groomed. Back then it was normal, and now you read it and you're like, that's creepy.
Secret marriage. Oh, second marriage. I was like, secret?
Yeah, she had 3 marriages total.
Okay, but if I got married and the first last name that I got was Woodhull, and then the second guy you married, his last name was Blood, take his name.
Victoria Blood. That sounds like a vampire.
Blood. Dude, that's...
Write a story about Victoria Blood.
He served in the Union Army in Missouri during the Civil War. He was elected as the city auditor for St. Louis.
I was like, I feel like his name sounds familiar.
Sure. Anyway, so you came across this, did a bunch of research. Well, barely.
Yeah, and, for me, what really drew me into it is they have a bunch of quotes from speeches she gave, and one thing she said was, "Yes, I am a free lover. I have an inalienable, constitutional, and natural right to love whom I may, to love as long or as a short period as I can, to change that love every day if I please, and with that right, neither you nor any law you can frame have any right to interfere." That's so cool. Bruh. And she said that in 1871. She was so ahead of her time in that respect.
That's such a poetic way of saying I want to fuck anyone I want.
Well, like she didn't think like there was a problem with interracial marriage, which wouldn't be legalized for another like I think 80 years. I'm not really good at math.
Okay.
But like it's not been very
For
long time
math
that these
years.
things have been like legal despite it never really having been wrong in the first place. But
Yeah.
she said that she also thought society was hypocritical for like, praising men who had mistresses, but women who did the same thing were like ostracized in their society. So the problem with her presidential campaign ended up being this free love component because she had an affair with someone, and then she also criticized Henry Ward Beecher, which he sounds really familiar. I don't know much about him, but she criticized him because he was having an affair, and then the scandal ended up being covered like nationally, and they prosecuted her on obscenity charges for sending accounts of the affair through the federal mails, and she was briefly jailed, which ended her campaign for United States presidency, which was never really taken seriously in the first place, apparently. So
Yeah, because I don't think one of the major political parties would have backed that right off the that. Well, I for one am happy that you have a new role model.
No, she's definitely not my role model. Like I said, she believed in eugenics, which I just
I know you've said it 4 times. Fun. We got it. All right.
So,
but to him, what?
I don't know.
If you'd like to learn more about it, go on Wikipedia. You can actually read the full story of her life in order, which might make a lot more sense rather than
I'm more fun than reading it in order.
She ran this way. She did that. I'm more fun with it.
Like duh.
Debatable. So I came across this article, which I just love.
Why?
I'll have you guess through it, right? So the title of it was, I lost it. The title of it, I literally had it up in front of me, is 46 Things Everyone Had in the 90s but no longer exist, right? And what do you guess a majority of these things are?
Furbies.
A majority of the 46 things have to deal with Furbies. That's your first guess.
Wait, no, I just thought one of them would be a Furby.
I said majority because a lot of these things are all relatively the same.
I mean, maybe like technology. Okay,
You're killing me.
Don't.
That
just
was
go
not even
ahead.
helpful.
Just talk.
Do you think it's wigs?
Yeah.
Do you think they had old expired ham?
I have no idea. Tell us.
It has to do with technology. You're partially inclined to be right, but not all the way. So it's a majority of them were based around landlines and answering machines. It was like an answering machine. You had to memorize phone numbers. You had, landlines where your mom could listen in on your phone calls. And I was like, I don't think that these should count as separate things. But then some of the things on the list are just ideas. And this is one of them. This is my favorite one out of all 46. Keep in mind, this is 46 things that everyone had in the 90s and now they no longer exist.
Okay.
This is number 29. A sense of optimism about the future. That's what they listed that no one has that everyone had in the 90s.
That's like what I say when I'm at work and someone's like, okay, I'm about to leave. Do you need anything? And I'll be like, the will to live,
Yeah.
That sounds like an Onion article.
I'm like, who made this list? This is such a terrible list.
No, what is it? What else is there? Because that's
most
so
of
funny.
Most of it is literally just the phones, but we can go through some of them. Legible handwriting is one, which is a lie. A lot of people have legible handwriting. Adjusting a carburetor on your car. Meeting people on time at an agreed location. I feel like this, right? No, this one's saying this. Somebody just like nostalgic. Somebody just had a boner for the 90s and was like, everyone was so happy. And then some of them on here, a lot of them on here are like, oh, the reasonable expectation of privacy or being able to get offline and not being interrupted by like constant notifications. You're like, okay.
Just put your phone in do not disturb, bro.
Yeah. This one, the ability to drive a manual. Okay, I know a lot
I-
of people that can still drive manually.
Yeah, I can in theory.
The 90s, by the way, is not 100 years ago. It was definitely
I know,
like 30.
I'm not even 30 yet, bro.
This one, patience. People don't wait for things. I agree that its patience has gone down. I don't agree that it's gone completely.
No.
Again, this one says general penmanship, but legible writing was a separate one on the list.
My penmanship
Changing
is
it,
pretty great.
Being able to change a tire.
Can
The
change a tire
general
in theory.
populace was way more handy. Yeah, because you had to know how to do things before you needed to know it. Like if you got a flat tire, you needed to know how to change it. You couldn't just sit there and be like,
Yeah.
let me look it up on YouTube real quick. And what now that I need to know how to change a tire?
Yeah.
Paying bills with a check. Okay. The ability
Yeah,
to
it's
calculate
great that
a
we don't have
person's
to do that,
change
frankly.
without using a register. The ability to let your kids live a life without shelter.
What does that mean?
I guess just, I don't know. I am sewing skills. What? Typing? What do you mean?
I'm really good at typing.
Yeah, I don't know. It
People
just says
like watch me type and they're like, how do you type so fast? I'm like, I don't know, bro.
the ability to spend the afternoon outside.
I can do that.
Editing film, cutting and taping segments of film together. Yeah, that's.
I don't
you
feel
can
like the
have that.
general public ever did that like excessively, you know?
No, I feel like certain people would.
I feel like that's like a hobby, you know?
This one's good. Being able to read a map.
Okay, you know what? You got me.
Keeping personal things to ourselves. Again, just privacy stuff.
No,
Being
okay.
able to use a fax. Yeah, we have text
I think people
messages
just
now.
say it in different ways now. Like sometimes I'm like, you know, some thoughts should be inside thoughts. Like,
but my favorite one off that list was just a sense of optimism about the future.
you know what?
I love it.
Yeah.
That article was just written by somebody who grew up in the 90s who has now fallen into depression and was like working on an article deadline that they had to get to their editor.
Yeah. It's become like, I love like the Not the Onion type articles. You got me thinking about them.
Okay.
Like, there's one that's like Mariah Carey's lawyer got inducted into the Rock Hall of Fame before her.
What?
Yeah. Could you imagine?
That's cool.
Like, and then this one, Gen Alpha keeps tripping and falling over their own Crocs, so schools are banning the shoes over safety concerns.
On Crocs? What?
I love Crocs. I never had a problem with them.
I've never had Crocs. I don't think I've ever worn them.
I had them before they were like hated, and then I had like in middle school I wore them all the time. Nobody ever said anything, and then they became a meme, and I wasn't wearing them because I was in high school. And now a lot of people wear them, and they decorate them with like the little.
Yeah, they
things.
come with like, it's like those, what brand is that? Those bracelets, those silver ones that used to be popular.
No clue. My parents.
It
were
was
poor.
like the charm bracelets. You remember what they're called? I don't. Either way, it's like that. You could just collect a bunch of charms, except now you can put them on your Crocs. On your shoes.
I've seen my coworkers wear them, and sometimes they have really funny little things. But that's so funny. Oh my gosh! And then you're doing this meat diet.
Okay.
I don't know if you wanted to talk about it with the audience.
Talk about what? The fact that I need to lose some weight, so I'm just cutting out carbs.
I just think it's so
exciting.
funny that it's like meat only.
It's meat. It's not meat only. You know this. We have been through this so many times. It's not like you eat meat and nothing else. You eat meat and animal products. So eggs, milk, cheese, butter's fine. Everything except for like vegetables, fruits, and grains and bread. Like that's it.
At a time when the candy needs to be eaten.
I don't know what you talk about. You are scarfing through this candy. Look, there's barely any left in this bowl.
That's because I ate all the sour candy.
All right, and I haven't eaten candy in 4 days now. So
I could eat less candy.
You can't tell me, oh no, we're never gonna eat this candy. I should eat less.
Honestly, sometimes I'm like, you do not need that 5th packet of nerds.
The 5th packet of nerds.
There's just barely any in there. I want like the adult size nerds.
Right. They're not like portioned for like serving sizes or anything.
Who needs a serving size? The serving sizes are like 4 little pieces. Like, I'm not gonna stop at 4 tiny pieces.
It's one package. The serving size is one package. That's why they're packaged that
I need
way.
at least like 15.
15 packages?
No,
Oh my gosh.
15 servings.
That's 15 packages, yes.
Like 15 of the little candies.
15 candies is not 15 servings.
Okay.
That's like 2 packs, maybe.
It's like 3 packs.
It's
I
not.
think there's like 5 in each
There's like
one.
6 to 7 in each one. You get 2 packets.
Okay. Maybe 3.
That's what I thought. You need 3 servings. I don't know who they expect to like abide by serving sizes. I don't think I've ever followed them exactly.
No, I think I've told you like one time I was getting Oreos for us and I looked at the serving size of Oreos and I was like,
oh my gosh,
oh,
Oreos
no.
are the worst serving size.
They're
it's
like 2.
3. Yeah,
no,
it's
I'm
like
pretty
2
sure
or
it's
3.
2. And then every time I eat them, I'm like, wow, I just had like 6 serving sizes of Oreos.
The Oreos are absolutely terrible for you.
Or maybe it depends on if they're the double stuffed or
It depends on what they
not.
are, right? But it's usually like 2 to 3. Like the little mini packs that come in 2, that's a serving usually. Like 2 regular Oreos in a little pack, serving of Oreos.
You know what? It's fine.
You pour a whole glass of milk. You can't just use 2 Oreos. That's a waste of milk.
Yes,
so you got to get at least like
them.
8, 9, maybe 10 and a half.
Yeah. I guess the other night when I was eating the cereal and you were like, oh my God, slurping that milk. What?
Dude, what do you mean? Dude, I don't know if it's just because it's annoying or because, no, that's probably it. But
no, you.
It's every time you have soup, cereal, I think you had coffee the other day and you did it, but you're just like slurping over there. Like you trying to get on that podcast of that one lady. What's her name? The Tua lady, that girl.
Oh, Hawk Tua.
Sure, that you slurping like you trying to get
What
interviewed.
does she talk about on her podcast?
I don't know. I've never looked at it. She was on she went up to like number 2 on like the most popular podcast, number 1 or 2 or something.
Let's see.
But I have no idea what they actually talk about on that podcast. I know she made a ton of money from those t-shirts she started selling, and then she made a ton of money from the podcast. Did you see the guy who interviewed her, like to the interview that she got famous from, like sued her because she didn't share any of the profits with him? And the courts were like, she doesn't have to. Like, there's no, like, you didn't produce it. You weren't in a contract with her. So, like, any proceeds that went to her from your video going up, like, you don't have any rights to it. You know what I mean?
Yeah, and it's like, wasn't she like on his thing? Like,
right. He was interviewing her on his channel and people just liked her and made her famous.
So I'm assuming his channel's probably monetized if he's doing interviews.
He probably got a ton of views from that video, but then after that kind of fell off and is mad that he didn't see the revenue of like the shirts and everything, which, understandable you'd be mad about it because you missed that opportunity, sure. But you don't have that right to claim like, oh no, this is my discovery. Like, no, you just did it for your video and then you moved on and then regretted afterward the success of it.
Yeah, so kind of having trouble finding out what her podcast is about, and it makes sense. So she describes it as like wanting to show the world that she's more than just the Hawk Tua meme, right?
And yet the name of it is Talk Tua.
Yeah,
all right.
And then somebody describes it as saying the podcast is kind of all over the place. I mean, us too, but like if you're trying to show
our whole thing.
Yeah.
The name, it's mindless. That's the whole point.
Oh, the podcast bounces. So this is from her campus, just so you guys know. Okay. But it says that the podcast bounces around from subject to subject, from things like growing out and styling your pubic hair to the highs and lows of Welch's journey on the internet. And while the podcast promised to let viewers get to know Welch a little more, by the end, I was even more confused about who this girl really is.
Yeah, I don't think she was prepared for that level of it, but at the same time, I don't think she's got much interesting things to say other than like interviewing celebrities that come on the show to talk with her. Yeah,
I don't know. I like very specific podcasts, like things that are about very specific interests, or I like things like our podcast where it's like you can just put it on in the background while you're playing a video game or something, and you can listen while you're playing something and like be very casual about it. I don't think that
This
appeals
is the
to me.
Wikipedia description. It just says it was launched September 3rd. The first episode featured comedian Whitney Cummings as a guest. The second episode featured television personality Caitlin Bristow as a guest, where they Welch discussed a new relationship. A fake screenshot of an NPR article went viral on Twitter, claiming that former President Donald Trump had canceled a guest appearance on the podcast because of the assassination attempt. And that's the whole Wikipedia article.
You look
Those 3
so
paragraphs.
confused.
There's
and I
nothing
think that makes sense.
about it. There's 8 episodes. The first one is 55 minutes. The second one's 25. The third one's 45. Then an hour. Then 50. Then 50. Then 58. Then 46. I'm like, there's not a ton of consistency.
I mean, who am I to judge?
I said Hawktua, and now I'm here with Whitney Cummings. I told Granny about Hawktua. I made it official with Pookie. I wrote Dasha's next hit song, I'm Fighting JoJo Siwa.
I'm Fighting JoJo Siwa. I watched that one.
I ruined my first date with Pookie with Hannah Berner.
God, I tried for so long to resist the term Pookie, but then so many of my work friends started using it.
Where did it come from?
I don't know either. A bunch of my friends used it, so it crept into my vocabulary, and now I find myself looking at the cats and being like, hi, Pookie.
Let's look and see. Pookie may also refer to an Australian hip-hop artist who released the debut single Tuesday in 2020. Her other songs include Talkin' Dis Dat, Feel It in the Black, and Different.
Okay. Go off. Pookie's meaning stems from a German term of endearment for children. Its first emergence in pop culture appeared to be in the late 1970s. So why did it get more popular?
Now, I have no idea. Maybe it was from what's her face on Talk to Her. No idea.
No, it predates her.
Oh, then never mind. Well, I appreciate everyone coming by and stopping by and listening.
Has it already been that long?
We are Mindless, she's Prattle. This has been episode 92.
Woo!
If you liked what you heard, you can always hear more at mindlessprattle.com or wherever you get your podcasts. If you want to leave a review, you can head over to mindlessprattle.com. I said it 3 times now.
Please be kind.
Shut up. It's even more fun. You can also leave reviews. You can give little, what is it? The voice messages. You can leave voice messages if you want to say something nice or mean or indifferent. I don't mind either way.
It's almost our 100th episode, and if you leave a little message, maybe we'll include it. And if you don't, we'll just look like losers. It's okay.
And if it's in a language that's not English, more power to you. I'm not going to translate it. I'm just going to assume you love it. But that's going to do it for us. We'll see you next time.
Goodbye.